Hey guys, welcome back to How to Rip's Lesson of the Week. Today's episode I'm going to discuss why you should experiment with a variety of surfboard designs, much like what I've got behind me. We see a longboard, a hybrid, and then two small wave performance boards. We're going to discuss why you should do it and how it can help your surfing progress. And guys, if you're new here, why don't you subscribe to the channel now, where we upload tutorials to help your surfing progress. And if you're interested in the wetsuits that we wear, and the boards that we ride, and other gear that we use, you can see all of that in the video description below. Make sure you mention How to Rip for special offers, discounts, and even free stuff. So while I'm certainly no expert when it comes to surfboard design, I do know how they differ when it comes to how they feel and how they let me surf. So I'm going to discuss those points in today's video. We've discussed what surfboard you should ride before in a few different videos, but really what I'm getting at in this video is that you need to experiment with different designs. Try smaller, fatter boards, try longer boards, try quads, try thrusters, try twinnies, mix it up, try around with PU boards compared to epoxy boards. See what the differences are. See which ones you like best. So the first thing I want to discuss is that you should choose a board that allows you to perform well in the waves that you surf most of the time. Now for me, that's smaller waves, probably around the 1 to 4 foot mark. Occasionally it gets pretty good, but generally it's around the 2 to 4 foot mark and pretty average. So I need to choose a board that will let me surf well in those sorts of waves. So behind me I have two options. They're both small wave performance boards, but one is a little bit more fishy than the other. Let's start here. Okay, so this board here is a 5'6". Now as you can see in the outline, there's a lot of foam forward in this board, so it's wide up front, which gives me good paddle power, which helps me catch the smaller, weaker waves that I surf a lot of the time. As you can see here, it's pretty flat. Okay, so flatter boards allow you to generate more speed when the waves are flatter. Smaller waves don't have that much power. So having a board which is flatter allows you to generate the speed that you need to surf those waves well. It's worth mentioning here that both of these small wave boards that I'm talking about are made from epoxy. Now people like using epoxy boards for their small wave boards because they have extra buoyancy and they float on the surface, which helps with your speed generation in small crappy waves. However, it's really cool to see that we can surf PU boards in small waves as well, as you'll see when we have a look at the hybrid board later on. Next we're going to jump to a slightly more high performance small wave option from this board here. This board is a 5/8. So this board, the foam is a little bit more evenly distributed. Still a little bit wide up front, but you can see that it's not as pulled in at the tail and it's not as wide as the other board that I just showed you. This one here is more of a typical high performance surfboard outline. If you have a look, you can see that it's still relatively flat, which will help me in the smaller average waves that I surf. But it does have a little bit more flick in the nose and a little bit more flick in the tail. Now what that means is that when I surf waves that have better sections, they offer a little bit more punch, it'll let me push the board a little bit harder in those sorts of conditions. While the other board that's a little bit flatter with less rocker might tend to get a little bit too loose in those bigger, deeper sections. This board will hold really well. So the next board I'm going to show you is a hybrid small wave board. It's kind of an in-between of a fish and then a small wave performance board. I started surfing boards like this about 8 years ago and I found it was really fun. This particular one here was a 5.3 in a thruster. This one is a 5.3. The difference here is that it comes in a quad setup. Obviously I'm missing 2 fins, but you get the idea. Now compared to the small wave boards I just showed you, this board has even more volume, believe it or not. Now you might think, how do we go and fit even more volume into a board which is far smaller than the rest? Well, as you can tell, this board is like a biscuit. It's really small and it's really wide. The foam is really pushed up in the front of this board, which gives you even more paddle power and even more ability to generate speed in those really small, crappy waves. That's where this board really comes alive. It allows you to surf waves that are terrible. 1 foot mush. This board will make it fun. But why is that? Being so flat and so wide allows you to generate speed when there is nothing there. When the wave is tiny and weak, you can still generate speed with this board. So the next thing I want to discuss is fins, just touching on it. Here we have a quad setup, the rest of my boards are thrusters. Now the biggest difference between the quad and the thruster setup was that the quad setup for me felt looser, but it still had drive down the line. I felt like I could still generate speed when I went down the line, but if I put my back foot into a turn, I felt like I could really release the tail quite easily. That makes things fun, and that's what's good about this board, is that it allows you to try new things. Because it is a bit loose, it allows you to whip the tail around, to maybe go for a 360 or a reverse, or just slide the tail. It can make it easier on a board like this compared to a high performance board. So you can learn those turns on a board like this and then progress those maneuvers to your small wave or your performance board. So last but not least, I'm going to discuss longboards and why you would bother surfing a longboard. Some people love longboards and it's all they do. They'll dedicate their whole surfing career to mastering a longboard. That's certainly not me. I haven't mastered a longboard at all. But for a shortboarder, I like to go to a longboard. I like to transition to a longboard. The days when it's tiny, like these waves here, it was so much fun. It makes it easy to catch those waves. You just take off and cruise. It allows you just to relax and enjoy the session. Another huge benefit to longboards is that, especially if you're still in that beginner stage, you can master your takeoff, you can master your paddling. because there's huge amounts of volume in this board. This board here is probably over 8 foot long. I tried to find the dimensions but I couldn't, but I know it's huge and I know that it floats me super easy. So this allows me to catch waves from ankle high, and that's pretty amazing. If I tried to surf those same sorts of waves on my shortboard, I'd be getting frustrated because I wouldn't be able to do anything. It'd be really hard to even catch them, let alone try anything. Whereas on a longboard, your expectations change. You just want to catch a wave and ride it and just cruise and have fun and enjoy surfing in its most basic form. So you might be asking yourself now, which of these boards should I get? With most surfboards retailing around over $1,000 a pop, how can you get the opportunity to surf different boards? Well, one thing to do is look at getting second-hand boards. You see them all the time online, and you should be able to pick up a variety of boards by using that platform. Guys, thanks for watching the video today. I hope that now you understand why you should experiment with a variety of surfboards, because you'll have so much more fun and you'll also be able to surf a variety of waves, and you won't always have to try and surf the same way every single surf, because eventually you'll get a little bit bored and you might even plateau. So by mixing things up, you'll stay fresh and keep learning. And remember to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and comment below to let us know what other videos you want to see. And let us know also in the comments what board you want to get next. What's the next board you're looking at getting? Something like this one. On the waves, then looking